Hey Gearheads, and welcome to GT Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I am your host, Cory, and today we are talking TSD, or Time Speed Distance Rally, the Alcan 5000 Rally to be specific, with longtime friends of the podcast, Andy and Mercedes Lilienthal. Mercedes especially, we've talked lots of rallies, her and I together, Andy and Mercedes together. We've talked Alcan 5000. They've done a summer, they've done winter, and here again, we will be speaking about their summer 2025, even though it was in September, summer 2025 Alcan 5000 rally in a very new, very fun, very capable vehicle that they worked with the manufacturer to secure. They were basically running bone stock, but I won't give it all away. We'll go ahead and jump into the conversation with Andy and Mercedes. So great to have both of y'all back on the show. Andy, you and I have driven all over Kentucky and southern Indiana since last we spoke virtually. How are y'all today?
I'm doing great.
We're doing great. Well, I'm speaking for you now. I'm doing great as well.
Yeah, so lots to catch up on. I know we really want to focus specifically here on the Alcan 5000 Summer Rally that y'all wrapped up. We're creeping a little ways, and we're already into fall here, but I do want to touch base with y'all on that because y'all partnered with a new manufacturer, and as I mentioned, it was summer versus the last time y'all ran it in the winter, correct?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, this one. So the Alcan goes typically every 2 years, summer, then winter, then summer, then winter. And then every several years, they do sort of a makeup one. They throw another summer in there. So we had winter 2024. Now we had this makeup summer 2025, even though it happened last month in September.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do another summer in 2026. And then they'll be back to winter in 28.
Oh, wow. So they're gluttons for punishment doing back to back years, or right one after one another. Not quite like the Olympics.
Yeah,
Right,
not quite. But I mean, it's a different rally. I mean, this year was 11 days. We thought it was a standard 10 days, but it's 11 days. And we did all of the optional extreme control routes for fringe lunatics, as Andy likes to call us, to do everything. Because, of course, that's the perfect way to test the Honda. That we'll get into what vehicle that was in just a second. But that was 11 days. We clocked 5,502 miles.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
And I think about 1,000 of it was dirt and gravel.
Yeah. So very interesting. So I just had the Toyota Tacoma Trail Sport, and my son and I took it off-road. We have an hour to drive to get there and spend an hour off-road. And as we're driving back, he's like, wouldn't it be cool if we drove home all off-road? And I was like, yes, son, but it would probably take longer than an hour. And then I had to do all the explanation to a 7-year-old of why driving off-road takes much longer than driving on the highways and such as that. But at what point, y'all said y'all did not know it was 11 days. At what point did y'all find that out? Showing up and surprise? Or...
Actually, it was writing one of our pre-rally articles, and I looked on the website, and I'm like, okay, this, and looking at the mileage and double checking things, and I went, oh crap, Andy, it's another day.
And I was like, wait, what? It's 11
days.
And yeah.
And next year is going to be 11 days too. They already have the itinerary up and the tentative route planned. Next year is going to be 11 days, and I think it'll be over 6,000 miles, and about 1,300 miles of that is dirt and gravel for next year. We're going to be hitting above 2 Arctic circles and the Arctic Ocean in the summer. So that'll be a mother of all rallies there.
We'll be going up the Dempster Highway all the way to Inuvik in Northwest Territories, and then there'll be an optional jaunt up to the Pacific Ocean at Tuktoyaktuk. I'm sorry, the Arctic Ocean in thank you, at the Tuktoyaktuk. But then there's also, they have what they call extreme controls, and these extreme controls are optional routes you can get extra points for to go for the Go Farther award. And there will be an optional jaunt up the Dalton Highway from Fairbanks up to Coldfoot. Coldfoot is pretty much only exists because it's a fueling depot.
Yeah.
And so you'll get extra points if you go up there.
That's also above the Arctic Circle, but that's next year. So
All right. So we just jumped right in feet first in this. I covered some in the intro, but this is not your first rally. This is not your first Alcan 5000. This is not the first time we've talked about the Alcan 5000 between all of us. But just real quick, if this is someone's first episode, getting to know y'all, getting to know the rally. First, quick introduction, husband and wife team, Mercedes and Andy Lilienthal. How, where, why do we do this?
Yeah, that's a valid question. Why do we do this? So, I guess if you jump back to 2018, actually, if you go further back than that, I had met a few people who did this thing called road rally, and I didn't really know what road rally meant, but it sounded like it could be fun. And so I met another automotive writer, automotive journalist by the name of Jeff Zerschmied, who lives here in Oregon, and we got on the topic of it, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I do road rally. You should do one." And I'm like, "Well, how do I even go about that?" And he's like, "Oh, there's a Cascade Sports Car Club, which is here in Portland, and they have a time, speed, distance club." And we're like, "Okay." So I looked into it, and in 2018, Mercedes and I entered a road rally, a time, speed, distance road rally, and we had a really good time, and we actually took like third place in the novice class. There were probably only 3 people, but anyway.
We might want to preface what a road rally is compared to a race, like a go.
Yeah.
Because people might not know the difference.
Yeah, great point. So a road rally or time, speed, distance rally is held on public roads at or below speed limits. It usually includes a route book, and that route book has things like the directions and what you're supposed to do in average speed. And so as an average speed, so it may say take a left on at 0.5 miles onto Smith Street, change your average speed to, or CAST, change your average speed to 30 miles an hour. And then there'll be another one in 1.2 miles, turn left on Elm Street and change average speed to 22 miles an hour, and so on and so forth. And so we did this in 2018, and we had a really good time. And then we did a couple more. And then I had heard of this thing called the Alcan 5000. I was at Portland International Raceway in like 2007 or 8 or something like that. And somebody had a booth, and they had a Subaru Forester with this big Alcan 5000 graphic on the side. And they had a big map too, like I think it was laid out on the hood. And I remember looking at this going, just my road trip, my love of road trip and driving. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a group rally up to Alaska. I'm like, wow, I wonder what that's all about. And I didn't know all that much about it. It just sounded, well, I'd love to drive to Alaska someday. And again, like I was talking to Jeff about this, and he's like, I've done it. He's like, it's incredible. You should do it. And I was like, someday maybe. And anyway, Mercedes and I are big fans of not doing the maybe on someday. And so we like to actually try to make this stuff happen. And we looked into it for 2020, and it was a winter rally, and we took and outfitted our 1991 Mitsubishi Pajero. It's a turbo diesel, little Japanese right-hand drive SUV.
Because why not?
And
the Arctic in the winter.
I can tell you many reasons why not.
yeah, exactly. There's probably more reasons not than to do it, but we did it, and
we did it well.
Was an unbelievable adventure. First of all, you're with a whole bunch of people, so the safety factor is higher than if you were just to do it by yourself. So there's that travel aspect, and then I don't, unless you've been up there before, I'm not sure you can really prepare yourself for what it's like up there in the wintertime in February in as far north as you can drive in North America.
In a blizzard.
In a blizzard, 43 below zero without the wind chill, snow piled up real high, and it's alien. I mean, the sky is different. The landscape looks it's like that perfect fondant frosting on a wedding cake. It's perfect. And we saw bison and wolves and caribou, and I mean, it's like, and then you're doing it with a bunch of other fringe lunatic car people who, all paid good money like we did to drive horrible roads and try not to die of of exposure. And when we were done, they passed around a sheet, and we didn't even contemplate it. We're like, yeah, we're signing up for 22. It's a summer one, and we got hooked.
Yep. Well, I mean, summer makes more sense to this Texas boy who, like, no to all the cold. No. It's like, but yeah, the summer would be where I would dip my toe in if I were to venture that way. So, your first one was in the crazy year of our Lord 2020, and then you've been hooked ever since. You've done a couple summer rallies now, this being your second.
Correct. Yeah, we did 2022 with Subaru as well, and that really gave us that opportunity to see what the difference was between what a summer one and a winter one is like. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? What was your summer versus winter Alcan?
Pretty much the same as what you were saying. So, you've got a lot more, obviously, dirt and gravel in the summer. You've got a lot of mosquitoes. They're not out during the winter, thankfully.
They exist that far north?
They exist by the boatload, I can
Yeah.
tell you that much. But yeah, and I mean, the roads are rougher because there isn't grooved ice and snow that is, showcased during the winter. I mean, a lot of the roads that we're on are all haul roads, so they have to keep them groomed for the ultimate traction for all the long haul truckers. So
the potholes are filled in by the snow and the ice in the
right.
winter.
So there's a lot more tires that get slashed in the summer. We've not, thankfully, knock on wood, have had that ever happen, especially this year with Honda and their General Grabbers that they had that they co-designed with General and Honda. But no, there have been many teams that have slashed tires in the summer.
Wow. So y'all have done this a couple years now, a couple different situations, more than a couple years now, and in two different situations. This time, going back, second summer rally, new vehicle. What were y'all driving?
Oh, okay. But we were driving a 2026 Honda Passport Trail Sport.
I love that vehicle. I have not gotten to spend as much time in it as I would like, but we road tripped it down to Austin. Very much kept it on the roads. I'm very curious your perspective now after practically probably the same amount of on-road miles for us as off-road miles for y'all in this 5,000 mile rally. What was your experience?
I think for me, we had a total of over 7,000 miles, about 7,600 miles or something in total with this vehicle. So what we did, it was mostly bone stock. There were some different OEM upgrades that we did to it, like the rock sliders, interior spare tire interior spare tire setup in the cargo area, LED cargo liftgate light, which is awesome, and some other things.
Roof rack.
And in the roof rack, right? Yes, that was a big essential piece too. So, but what we also did, the only aftermarket parts, is we partnered with Rally Innovations, which is a California-based and California manufacturer outfitter of a really, really cool prototype front light bar mount. And then we also did another California-based company and manufacturer, Baja Designs front lights. So we drove a car, or no, we flew down, and then we finished up and we did social.
This was Anaheim, California.
In Anaheim, California. And then basically picked up the rally car when the install was done, and then basically drove it all the way back up here. We live in Portland, then started the rally in Seattle, and then took off. So
we had a nice little shakedown run.
Yeah, I was going to say, we basically drove all the way from LA to where? All the way up to
all the way to
Alaska. And I mean, we did like a huge amount of the United States and a huge amount of Canada when you think about that trip. And that was before we even started rallying.
Yeah. The three things if you rewind back to 2020, so this 91 Mitsubishi Pajero we were in had lots of ground clearance. We had great heated shield man seats from Germany, but we only had about 90 horsepower because it was a diesel. So it was not fast. We didn't generally go fast than 65 miles an hour. And as we're going, putting up these hills at like 50, 50 is probably an exaggeration. It's probably more like 30. And we kept thinking like everyone would go past us. And we kept thinking like, what are the traits you want in an Alcan 5,000 vehicle, summer or winter? And we came to three fundamental things you want. ground clearance, power, and comfort. And that little Pajero had 2 of the 3. But we've made sure that every time we've done it since then, we have those 3 as minimums. So the Trail Sport, the Passport Trail Sport had 8.3 inches of ground clearance, had 285 horsepower, and lots of space. In fact, I'd say it was probably the roomiest car we've taken on the Alcan.
Yeah.
And I could probably used another inch of ground clearance, but everything else, and it was fine, but everything else was spot on for what you'd want to do for the Alcan.
Well, and there's some of the highways up there, especially in the summertime, the frost heaves are really bad. And if people aren't familiar with what frost heaves are on a highway, up in Alaska and in northern Canada, they're big, huge rollers that, because it thaws and it freezes, thaws and it freezes, then it really creates these crazy rollers on highways. So when you're doing highway speeds, I mean, we literally, was it a boater? I think we saw that.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
There were a couple of us ralliers that were, in tandem. You always kind of drive with a buddy car during the, several 100-mile long transits. And then all of a sudden our guy came on, he's like, that boat just we saw that axle just break right now. It was a break right now.
So the road they had a sign that said that there was broken pavement ahead because of one of these rollers, and there was a guy, I don't remember what he was towing with, but it was a pickup truck, and he had a boat like a speedboat on the back.
I thought we were going to wear the boat as a hood.
And so he passed us and he went in front of us, and he did not slow down for this broken pavement, and he hit it. And the boat trailer left the ground. Like, we saw a sky underneath it, and it came back down real hard. And we were like, oh my goodness. Like, we both audibly gasped. And then they pulled over at the next pullout.
Yeah, they
and
had to stop for
we all went past. Well, there was about 4 of us in our little caravan. And our friends, Jesse and Debbie Hires, and they had a Jeep Wrangler. And I'm sorry, they had a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yep.
And, he got on the road. He's like, did you see his trailer? I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, we audibly gasped. We couldn't believe it. And so those kind of road conditions can be just really hard on a car.
But the Honda did pretty well. I mean, considering, though I can't speak highly enough of those tires. Those are actually the first time that I ran General Grabbers or General tires of any kind. And they're co-designed, Honda and General together. And so Honda was pretty particular, that they were particularly interested in how this vehicle would do over, almost 6,000 miles in 11 days. That's a pretty good quick shakedown. So
when we ran up the Dempster Highway, we ran it. I mean, there were at least 3 or 4 people that had flat tires. So it was pretty rough going. So for them to we had 0 flat tires the whole way. So the tires were pretty good. I will say, if I had to be critical of anything, I'd say it could have used a little bit different shock tuning. We'd go over some of these rollers and we'd hit the bump stops coming down. We're trying to go, where I think the speed limit was 100 kilometers an hour or 80 kilometers an hour. So between 60 and 50, something like that. And so over the biggest bumps, you touch the bump stops, but we were doing some pretty extreme stuff. But overall, the Passport Trail Sport was a great vehicle because it was big and comfortable and powerful.
Well, and I'm to add to Andy's sentiment about the roads, what we did up there and what those roads are like up there are like none other compared to what we have typically down here. So, make no mistake, those roads up there will knock just about anybody, off if you're not careful. And those frost heaves especially. So it doesn't matter if it's a Honda, if it's a Subaru, if it's an Ineos Grenadier or whatever it is, you have to be really careful up there because those roads are no joke compared to how bad they can be compared to the mainland here.
And actually the pavement can be worse than the dirt because the potholes are sharp around the corners.
Yeah.
And so the section right as you cross back into
Denali,
right as you cross back into Canada from Alaska, that road, which is the Alaska Highway, there are sections that are bad, and you cannot go highway. You got to slow and go around these, moon craters, potholes.
Well, same with the Denali Highway. Denali was the same way.
We did the Denali Highway up in Alaska, and there were parts of that were really bad. Unbelievable scenery. Absolutely one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in the world. And the road, not so much, but the scenery definitely.
So you said there are three main criteria y'all have for rally vehicles: ground clearance, power, and comfort. I had to ask y'all. Honda did something very interesting this year with the Passport in offering a Trail Sport Elite. So did y'all have Trail Sport or Trail Sport Elite for the comfort side of things up there?
We had the Elite, so
nice.
we had everything but the full blackout package. So ours was a ash green metallic, I believe it's an ash
Yep.
green, and we had the black HPD wheels on it, and it was a good looking rig. We had some stickers. They sent us some Passport and Honda decals for the side and Trail Sport.
Trail Sport.
So it was in full regalia. It looked good.
Like I said, I'm in love with that vehicle. I've been on Build and Price longer than I care to admit. After they announced that one, we did just get out of a Forerunner Trail Hunter for a test vehicle, and there was a small contemplation of us taking that with my parents down to San Antonio for a trip and back, but it is just so tight on the inside because, well, it's body on frame. It's a true rugged off-roader, but Honda has done leaps and bounds for this new crossover unibody Passport Trail Sport that, again, I referenced. We took it down to Alaska. We took it down to Austin with my mother-in-law. We had no problem for space. Sounds like y'all had no problem for space either, even with the spare tire in the way back.
Yeah, and what was really cool about that spare tire setup is they have a false floor and they have like a cubby area, and that's where the tire sits in. So it sits down and it straps in super tight. It didn't come loose at all, which is amazing. And the visibility was pretty good out of it, even with having the car, but out of the vehicle, and the tire back there too. So, and as far as space, I kept on thinking, my gosh, what are we not bringing? Because we had so much room. I thought I was missing some cargo, but we had everything. And I wanted to say is it's really neat to see Honda's evolution with the Trail Sport vehicles, whether it's a Pilot 3-row or the Passport 2-row. I was fortunate to myself. Andy wasn't there, obviously, because he's a man. But in 2023, I drove the 2020, well, that iteration of the Passport Trail Sport, and that was for the Rebelle Rally.
Pilot Trail.
I'm sorry, the Pilot. Yes, exactly. Sorry, too many P's. Passport and Pilot.
Yes.
But in 2023, I drove the Pilot Trail Sport, which is a 3-row. We did take out that last row and that middle section because we had, other gear and things like that. But boy, that was so much fun to drive off-road. And when I mean off-road, I'm not saying like dirt highways or gravel highways or roads that we did in the Alcan, but completely different. We were doing, cliffside rocky areas. We were doing silt. We were doing sand dunes. We were doing, high-speed desert whoops. I mean, all sorts of stuff that you could think that the Rebelle Rally could throw at you. And that vehicle was great. And it was so much fun to left foot brake too. And just, soften that, dampen the suspension before some of those big areas. And it worked. And it was so much fun to drive.
If you don't need low range, and a lot of people don't need low range, Honda, the Passport Trail Sport, and like she was saying, the Pilot Trail Sport too, it has a lot going for it.
And the camera system is amazing.
Oh yeah,
Trail Watch camera system is
very good.
During Rebelle, for instance, and I know that they have later iterations now, especially with the 26 that we drove. But in 2023, I mean, the hoods are tall, and for me as a 5'4" woman, I just have a shorter torso, and so even with the seat all the way up driving, it's hard for me to see over that hood. But that camera system's just that good. Yeah. I never felt like, oh God, what's on the other side of that trail? Can I go? Can I not go? And then the bird's eye with a 360 and you see the fenders. I mean, it was great. It's good to park too, what Andy says.
Yeah, helped parking.
Yeah, I mean, we have a 13-degree incline driveway. Whenever we don't have 360 cameras coming up that, we're like, is there a cat just waiting for us at the top of the hill? Like, what is up there that we don't know, that is not paying attention to the fact that, I mean, we're in a hybrid right now, so it could creep up there silently. Wow. And we're like, what's waiting for us at the top of the hill? But
wow, 13 degrees. It's almost like you could just perfectly test all the hill holds. You don't even have to leave your driveway.
There have been some thoughts of doing some true off-road testing on that hill, but I also don't really love filming in my neighborhood, showing the whole world exactly where I live. But
Totally get it.
the the one thing that we always bring up is rear automatic braking. You wouldn't believe how many systems get tripped up trying to back down our driveway, to the point
Oh,
where we're in a big truck, Ram 1500 for example, we're in a big truck, but if you don't take it just right, it's going to slam on the brakes on you when you least
Oh,
expect it. It's like they do it 2 seconds too late. Like you're already down on the road and then bam, the brakes. But
wow.
luckily, most of those systems, we've figured out how to easily turn them off. The Ram's got a very easy button. But yeah, for the Honda, like I said, we did not have the Trail Sport Elite. We had the Passport Trail Sport cloth seats, still very comfortable, very spacious. We loved that thing. To the point, again, I was on build and price longer than I care to admit, thinking, you know what, this very well could be our next vehicle. It's plenty roomy, spacious, has all the features and amenities, and even bumping up to that Trail Sport Elite. Again, I've been on build and price, was not as big of a price jump as I thought it would be, especially when
Yeah.
comparing it to its main rival. And I've gotten a lot of flack online from the purists comparing it to the Forerunner, because they're like, oh no, that's a crossover versus body on frame. That's not the same. That's not the same. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right.
90% of consumers out there buying something that size, I feel are going to be way happier in the very spacious Honda with a V6, might I add,
Yeah.
versus a turbo hybrid 4-cylinder with a cramped interior. Let's just call a spade a spade.
all spades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's interesting, and I just think that it brings up a whole other topic of how many people are actually using low range. I know people like us who actually like to go out off-roading and all that stuff. Yeah, we want low range in a four by four. But like if I'm if I'm using this as a cross-country vehicle, if I'm using it to tow my boat, if I'm doing it that kind of stuff, and I don't need the low range, then why wouldn't I? And the other thing too, like she and I talked a lot about, was the useful space. Like she could get her big Nalgene water bottle in the door.
This Nalgene, the
yes.
32-ounce puppy that I'm holding right now, you can get it in the doors, the center consoles, everywhere. And I have to drink a lot of water every day, so I was so happy. My bladder wasn't, but I was so happy.
That's another problem that Honda can't really fix entirely. But
No, not at all, not at all. But I mean, and it also goes to the fact of some of the consumers where they think they need low range and then they just never use it.
Right.
So
And the 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, IVT4M, whatever they call it there on the Honda, is a very good system. I have not been able to truly push it beyond what I feel 90+% of consumers are going to put it through. And I had a lot of fun when we took ours on our road trip down to Austin. We went to the Hot Wheels Legends tour that was in a Walmart parking lot, but that poor Walmart parking lot was overrun and had a lot of like mulch raised flower bed sections that I'll go ahead and say a lot of people were parking in. I was like, I've got a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Like, and you wouldn't believe how many people were commenting, yeah, that's how you do it. And there were a bunch of Jeeps up there too. So I was like, you know what? It is what it is. And
Yeah.
again, for what 90+% of consumers are looking for, you get all the benefit of all-wheel drive traction with added room from it being a crossover unibody design vehicle that y'all said it multiple times. It was an embarrassment of how much space y'all had where you were looking for things. It sounds like to fill the space.
yeah, I just, as a navigator, I've got all the navigation supplies, right? And then we've been fine tuning every single year of what we need and what we don't need. And obviously the summer rally, you don't need Arctic boots, Arctic hats, Arctic, jackets, all
extra
this other kind of
food,
stuff.
all this,
And
yeah.
so there is less cargo that way, but it definitely was spacious enough. And one thing that I can say across the board for all manufacturers, actually, except for Ineos did a really great job of offering opportunities, is to ratchet down your gear. The Ineos, for instance, has an L-track system in the back. They even in the passenger and the driver's rear doors, they even have like a D-ring that is rated enough that you can, and it's in the door, that
strap
whole area there.
down.
You can strap stuff down. And for us, especially if it's a Rebel Rally or if it's the Alcan or something like that, we always strap our stuff down, because God forbid if something happens, then you don't have a fridge flying at you or your big, whatever tote bag or something.
They have tech inspection. They check to make sure your stuff's ratchet.
Yeah. And so in Honda's defense, they had areas where we were able to, because it was spacious enough, we were able to use some of like the kids latch down points. So we did that in the rear section, and then in the rear cargo area, we used, where the seats fold back, we used hooks that we were able to put in there, and the seats still held back or still popped back and latcheted. And the Molly panels too were great.
We have the optional Molly panels in the sides as well.
Right, and that held all of our emergency equipment. So we had our
first aid kit,
that fire extinguisher, and we had the triangle and stuff like that in there.
We even had a perfect space to carry a gallon jug of wiper fluid, which we would have to top off because there's a lot of bugs. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I think from an OEM perspective, I think that Honda had a good opportunity of us being able to ratchet things down, which I know is niche for us, but other people will need it too.
Right, and just all the little cubbies and compartments that they do have. You mentioned the spare tire place. You mentioned having a gallon jug in the back. Just very thoughtful. So, space, non-issue. Comfort, non-issue. What about power? How did the naturally aspirated V6 hold up for y'all?
Yeah, it was great. It's there's two things that I always say you have to worry about getting around on the Alcan 5000. One is slow RVs on the Alaska Highway, and the other one is like log trucks and slow implements on side roads and dirt roads and stuff. So I found that the car had a lot of good mid-range, and it really screamed, and not in a bad way, in the upper echelon. It almost sounded like, I'm going to kind of geek out here, it sounded like a Star Wars TIE fighter at full throttle. It's just, and
nice. I thought it had a great sound, especially under load.
And it was, it never was without enough power for us. I thought it was great.
It is an interesting entry into the segment, both the Pilot that you referenced earlier and the Passport and the Ridgeline that rides on the old platform with it, all still employ a naturally aspirated V6 when it seems like everybody else is going Turbo 4 or some variation thereof. And for people, especially like my parents, they will not even shop something with 4 cylinders. They say it's got to have at least 6. And there are some trade-offs. When you get forced induction, you don't have to worry about altitude as much, causing an anemic power problem. But it sounds like that V6 was more than enough for your gear, your stuff, and all the obstacles.
Yeah, we had zero problems. I really don't think there was a single time where I was like, you step on it, you're like, come on, go, It really did great.
Especially with the paddle shifters.
Yeah, so that's another thing. During the competition aspect of the Alcan 5000, we have to hold gear because you have to average a speed, right? So if it says average 30 miles an hour, we might have to hold 30 miles an hour for many miles. And in some vehicles that don't allow you to manually hold, say, second or third gear, it's really difficult to maintain an average speed because it's either wanting to upshift or downshift. In 2022, we used the Outback Wilderness, and a couple of times I forgot to put it in manual mode, and it would do, it would want to go faster or slower. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I had to put it in manual mode. So the ability to do that is very helpful. And I prefer having the paddle shift where I can just quickly, move my finger and change gear because you have to go from like, sometimes you have to go from like 36 miles an hour to 45 miles an hour, or you have to drop speed too. And I can just downshift and stomp the brake real quick and get down to 22 miles an hour.
I was just going to say 22 seems to be every vehicle's worst nemesis because no vehicle wants to do 22 or 21. Every once in a while, the rally will say you have to do 22 miles an hour, but it's for like 3.92 miles. And you're like, oh my God. But
I could get out and run
Honda did
faster.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you always want to go faster at that slow speed too. So
it's hard to drive slow.
But the Honda did pretty good. I mean, heck, we did pretty good with coming in our place that we did.
Yeah, we won our class, which was great, and then we actually took second place overall in the rally, which was amazing.
Nice, perfect segue too, because that was next up on my list. Is with all that power, comfort, convenience, etc. What are the results? What came of it for y'all?
Yeah, we took second in the 2S class. Cars or vehicles in the 2 class are going to be trucks and SUVs. S stands for the seat of pants class, which is the non-calculator class, non-computer class. 2S is generally the largest class too.
Right. And so when Andy means calculator, he means like a rally app or a rally computer. Those are unlimited. I can use like a simple calculator, like a kid's calculator in the SOP class. And basically do long form math to figure out what are called incremental time differences. So let's say if we've got one direction that says, you do 30 miles an hour and then at 0.29 turn left at whatever intersection, I can figure out the long form math to get me to that exact next intersection at whatever time it would be. So
I should just real quickly, in the route books, they give you the mileage and they give you the directions. You have to figure out the time.
Yep. So, but SOP equals basically, you can use a simple GPS odometer. I think everybody in the Alcan class or like any of the classes can use that, but a simple calculator, long form math. And I use a kitchen timer. I don't even use a stopwatch. I use a kitchen timer to keep me on track.
It's got big buttons. You can hit it quick and
big easy buttons. I try to stopwatch, but no matter if I hung it on my neck or I had it somewhere else, I just could never grab it quick enough. I'm like, kitchen timer, Velcro to my little map board, and boop, there I go. And then when I need to clear it, I'm done. So
for what it's worth, the unlimited classes, like we were referring to, they can use calculators where you upload you upload a spreadsheet.
Sorry, it was my kid.
Oh, no worries, no worries. So basically, the unlimited classes, you can run a computer or an app that you upload a spreadsheet of the segment length and speed, and it'll be able to tell you if you should speed up or slow down
while you're driving.
So there's our friends were running an app called Rabbit, and it has a little gauge, and the gauge has green on one side and red on the other side and yellow in the middle, and you're supposed to, or maybe it's yellow, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to keep the needle in the middle, and it'll tell you if you're running slow or fast. So those are unlimited because it's telling you you're going too slow, dummy. So
and it's during real time. We're way beyond nerd jack this whole conversation, but so basically unlimited teams have apps or computers or things like that. So as you're driving in the competitive segments of it, it will constantly say, okay, you're a little bit fast, a little bit slow, a little bit fast, you're dead nuts on. Whereas us in the SOP, either you need to figure that out manually, which I can't do it that quickly to try to change something, or you hit the next direction that's in the route book at a specific time. And then I start seeing when we're close, okay, we're a little late, speed up or slow down.
You're forgetting one thing.
What?
Spidey sense.
Oh, okay.
There is a little bit of that where, we'll have done these calculations and something will have happened and we get off the calculation. She'll just go, all right, this is all you. She's like, just
blind seat of pants.
And so I'm trying to, really feel it out. Like, okay, I think I'm going too fast. I'm going to slow down. Or I went down this hill and I noticed that the average speed is supposed to be 45, and I'm pretty sure I was going 50. So I got to slow down. And so to average that 45, I've got to go down to 40, whatever.
Well, and I think we might have missed one main part. how do we get scored? So there are invisible checkpoints. They used to be manned at checkpoints where people were actually there with like stopwatches being like, okay, here's this car, here's this car. Now it's all via a RICTA app or another rally app that literally goes bing, 7.2 seconds late or something. And then you can, yeah, yes. Then you can kind of recalibrate and go, okay, the Alcan rally, if you're that amount late, if you go through a checkpoint and if it tells you you're that amount late, for instance, you're still that amount late. So either you take a time allowance to catch back up and reset yourself, or you need to make it up. But the thing is don't speed, don't be reckless, don't any of that type of stuff. Again, this is a precision rally that's based, on public roads with other traffic, with cows, with sheep, with flooded roads, with everything in stereo, because it all happened with us. No, sheep didn't happen this year.
Cows.
Cows and flooding all at the same time, which took us all for a loop because it was really deep mud too. But that being said is, there's a lot going with it and then figuring out. So it's all that game of chess.
One thing I want to also add to this is we probably made it sound really complicated, and it doesn't have to be complicated. We're passionate about it and we're trying to win classes and all that stuff. Like, if you want to try a TSD rally, show up and just try to stay on the route.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about, using incremental time calculations and taking time allowances and all these things. Just make sure you stay on the route and have a good time. And you might find that this is actually a blast. That's what happened to us.
Well, and I want to give a huge shout out to all of the rookie teams that were during the Alcan every year, but especially this year.
A lot of rookie teams this year.
Summer has vehicles and also like dual sport adventure motos and stuff like that, motorcycles. So there were so many new people, and a lot of them were so passionate, whether they asked, a couple of the other veteran people, the teams that were there, or us, for instance. I still don't call myself a veteran, but we tried to say, hey, this is what you don't do, because we've learned just about failure through everything. And so, we try to help them, or they help, each other. And it was so cool to see so many new passionate people give it a try and go, oh, I'm starting to get the hang of it. By a couple of days in, they're like, oh, what am I doing here? This keeps happening. Oh, yeah. And then they learn. And then it was so cool to see their energy. It was awesome.
Every now and then you run into these novice teams who've never done this before, and they just get it. They get the math, they get how to do it. And here's us who've run 4 Alcans and done a bunch of TSD rally. And here's this new team out of Texas in a Maverick, Ford Maverick, hybrid front wheel drive on highway tires. And we're like, how are they so close to us? They must have done this before. And we're talking to like, yeah, it's our first time. I'm like, how are you so good the first time?
In their defense, I think that I can't remember if they were engineers or something. But the one guy was like a mathematician or something. He's like, oh, well, I love math. And I built out this whole grid, this whole everything. And I'm just like, dude, I got a kitchen timer.
Yeah.
But I mean, so they were a perfect example.
Never underestimate a Texan.
Yeah, this is true. Those guys were awesome too, by the way. They took highway tires on this Maverick. They ended up getting 3 flats, and like, yeah, next time we're doing all-terrain tires. But
I think they had 2 spares, 2 full-size spares. So but everybody learns. So that's their learning point, right? I mean, I learned we went through 2 Alcan 5000 rallies where we realized the way that we were running through the checkpoints. So our local awesome rally club that we have here in the Portland area is called Cascade Sports Car Club. And they're great. Monty and Victoria do an awesome job, and everybody that helps. They run their rallies differently, whereas if you go through a checkpoint, an unmanaged checkpoint, it'll ding and say 2.9 seconds off, like late. Okay, so all their checkpoints reset to a perfect 0. So basically what that means is, let's say, oh my gosh, you're off 22 seconds or something like that. And then you go through a checkpoint, boop, you're perfectly on time again.
You're back on time.
Yeah, we thought all TSD rallies ran that way. So we ran 2 Alcan 5000 rallies. We ran 1 or 2 Nor'Wester rallies, which is another local Pacific Northwest rally that we have done a couple of years, not knowing. Until we finally talked to another veteran, Paul and Yulia. They're just awesome. They overheard us, and we started talking to them. They're like, oh, no, not everybody does it that way. Most people don't reset to a perfect 0 score.
And I remember sitting there, and all of a sudden, for the first time, after 2 years of asking about this and people looking at us like we had 2 heads, it all of a sudden was
It
like,
dawned on us.
oh my gosh, that's the reason. It's because
That's because we're not getting better.
So basically, these rallies that we do here, if you have one leg that has 10 checkpoints, you're almost running 10 individual little rallies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in Alcan and most of the other ones, if you show up 10 seconds late to the first checkpoint, you're now 10 seconds late to the second checkpoint. You have to make that up. That's
or time allowance,
or use what they call a time allowance, which we didn't get into. But you have the ability to actually take time. If you show up 10 seconds to a checkpoint late, you can hit a button that says TA, time allowance, for or positive or negative, and actually make up that time without having to go faster or slower.
Right. I mean, the biggest thing is safety first, right? And, this is not a race. It's not the fastest. It's not go fast to see how fast your vehicle can go. This is at or below public
precision driving.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, listening to all of your adventures combined, because Mercedes, I don't know how many Rebel rallies you and I have talked about and gone over the years, that is like the most interesting point to me is, one, you're on public roads with everybody else, and two, like you're obeying the speed limit, and I mean, you're not a nuisance other than there may be more of y'all in any given section of road than would typically be on a Tuesday afternoon, whatever the case may be. But
yeah,
it just seems very interesting to me, to where I'm like, what if I did one? What if I created one? So my mind is all over the place on that one, but it does seem like a very interesting concept.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you hit it on the head. You should try one. Everybody should try one, because if you're a gearhead, if you have an on-road vehicle, an off-road centric vehicle, or things like that, any vehicle just about, and any price range just about, can do this. And that's what's so cool. And there's new ones and they're not very expensive. It's like the Cascade Sports Car Club. Let's see, if you do a half day rally,
$30,
30. I think it's 30 if you're not a member, and then it's $20 if you're a member. And it's like a half day of fun, and then you get to have lunch together, all together at the end. It's a great day, and you spend, where else can you spend for a day of entertainment for $30?
And the rally masters generally like to find fun roads, so they generally choose fantastic driving roads in super cool scenery, and certainly with Alcan, there's not that many roads up there. I mean, you're sort of limited to when you've got to get to hotels each night. There's only so many roads you can do. But
motels.
Hey, the hotels have gotten a lot better over the last few years. But so if you like to drive, if you like to hang out with other motorsports people, time speed distance rally is fantastic. Like, I like to think that we're leading a road rally revival here, and I think that it's something we're passionate about and just love to do.
Well, and speaking of revival, there are new rallies and new rally master or seasoned rally masters that come in to play. So, for instance, Jim Crittenden, he's a long time rallier, part of SCCA, all that type of stuff, hugely notable in the TSD world. He just created it's called CAR. It's the Colorado Adventure Rally. And it's right now, it's a one-time event, but it's in Colorado on beautiful paved, high elevation paved roads and some off-road. It's about 600
dirt roads. They're not cheap trails. They're just graded dirt roads.
I was going to get to that. Yep. So about 100 miles of the 600 total miles are off pavement on more dirt and gravel. But it's in July. And so it's his first time doing this rally. But how cool is that? You've got a beautiful, in July in Colorado. It should be a great time.
Well, I just asked ChatGPT, and it gave me a 10-step guide as to how I could create my own rally. So stay tuned for the first inaugural GT Garage Talk rally through Texas. I don't know where yet, but
oh boy, and I think we're gonna have to be a part of that.
With my handy ChatGPT guide telling me everything to do along the way. What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy.
So what is next for the Lilienthals? It already sounds like y'all are signed up for the next Alcan, but what's in between here and there? Is that the next big thing?
Yeah, we've got the Colorado Adventure Rally in July that we're planning for. You just never know what else is going to come. We did sign up for the 2026 Alcan Rally. We don't know what vehicle we're going to take yet. We're in some preliminary talks with people about what we're doing, but definitely the next big rally we have on tap is this Colorado Adventure Rally, which we're really looking forward to, and I'm sure we'll get in all sorts of trouble before then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, first things first, sleep. Thing after that, you never know. I mean, we had a couple of really big long things this year. The Alcan 5000 being one of them, Transamerica Trail being another, that took up a good chunk of our year. And so we purposely just kind of kept Q1, Q2-ish open of 2026 just because we needed to reset, kind of revitalize and sleep a bit. But you never know what'll happen.
People I don't think a lot of people understand the amount of planning that needs to go into some of these things. If you're building up a car, that can take a while. We work with the manufacturers and aftermarket support. That takes a while. And then, by the way, we are also writing and photographing all these things while competing. So there were a couple of things that we had kind of wanted to take a big trip in October for Mercedes' birthday, and we had come back from Transamerica Trail. Then we had a month, and then we had the Alcan, and it was like, we have too much to do, and we're like, just maybe hang around Oregon for a while. So, but
it's all good though. I mean,
for sure,
we live life for the now, and we don't want to put it off because we want to do it while we physically and mentally are able. And not to be a Debbie Downer here, but it's so hugely important. And for us, we love to travel. We love to spend time with each other. And what better way than to marry it all together with road rally or off-road rally? It's such
travel.
Or travel. It's just get out there and do it. Take the time. And if you don't have the time, try to make sure you have the time soon is all we can say. I mean, we're kind of an extreme example where we both left our professional white collar careers, and we did it at different times. But now we're able to say, okay, if we want to plan and take 5 weeks off for Europe and do the Baltic Sea Circle Rally with an ID buzz before they even came out in North America several months earlier, let's go ahead and do it. But we took a lot of planning to make that happen. But we did.
Yeah, and it's not just a vacation. Like, this isn't just a vacation.
Oh, no,
it's not a vacation for us. Like every now and then, and maybe you run into this too, where you'll be taking photos at an event, and someone's like, "Hey, can you send me those photos of my truck?" And we're like, "Well, these are actually for publications." And it's like, I actually can't do that. We're not going to sell you that. Most people understand. Occasionally, you get people who are just like, whatever. I'm like, well, sorry, but we're photographers, and we're just not giving this stuff away. This is our job.
Well,
so,
yeah, I mean,
we cram a lot into these things. We're competing, we're taking notes for articles, we're taking photos for this kind of stuff, we're gathering content for our social media.
Yeah, social.
It's a lot, and one of the questions we get asked by a lot of people is like, how do you do this without killing each other over 10 days? And especially the time speed distance rallies. I mean, yeah, we have some pressure cooker moments, but we're generally riled up about the situation. I'm not mad at her
because
I'm
you accidentally got me stuck or accidentally got you lost or something, or we're behind or something happened, like cow's butt jumps out and you're like, and you have to like slow way down, but then it throws your timing off for 2 checkpoints. I mean, it's
there's times too where like we come into this section. It was a very, very long stage at 65 miles, and we come around a corner, and there's a herd of cattle like spaced out in the road, and then the road is partially flooded. And I had put the car into manual mode, and we went in through some of these water holes that were easily,
it was really deep,
foot and a half deep. And I got my foot to the floor thinking, come on. And then I realized I was in manual mode, and it was stuck in like third gear, and she's going, go. I'm like, I'm going.
He's trying.
And so you get these little moments like that. And then, but we've gotten really good about getting back though. We're like, focus. Like, don't dwell on the cow don't dwell on the cow standing in the water that we went around.
But you didn't realize there were multiple cattle, and they were grazing right in that whole flooded area. And my window was half down.
Oh no, yeah.
So I had Betsy's, on me, and my mat board and everything. As all of a sudden it went whoosh, and he was able to anyways.
And by the way, fun fact: the cows did not care about the horn on the car.
Oh, no.
I'm like honking, I'm like yelling, go move out of the way. They don't care. They're just like staring at.
Mind you, we're doing like 10 miles an hour or something.
I mean, we weren't like hauling through that area.
No. But it's all, I mean, that's part of the narrative, right? And that's part of the experience that we just look back at. And it might have been stressful at that point, but it's like, yeah, remember that time when
Well, you hit on it a little bit. This is not the end of the story for us talking here. We've got a rare back-to-back couple of episodes where we will be talking about the Trans-America Trail and some more of your adventures. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to the podcast because we've got more stories to tell with Andy and Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing we could say is that it's with Subaru that we mildly built up a vehicle, and it was a month-long crazy coast-to-coast adventure, transcontinental adventure.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to jumping into that conversation. So absolutely, y'all listening, hit the subscribe button. You'll want to stick around for that. But Andy, Mercedes, great having y'all as always. I always enjoy getting to talk to y'all, whether virtually or in person, and looking forward to our next go round here on the podcast.
Yeah, us too. Thanks so much for having us on.
Yep, thanks so much.
Well, there you have it, Gearheads. We are not done with the Lilienthals. We will have another episode coming up with them. So we thank them so much for taking time to recount us with their journey with the Alcan 5000 this summer. Looking forward to that next episode. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, Gearheads, bye.